Hi, my name's Ron Halem, and I am stage 4 kidney cancer. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't an AA meeting. Okay, so here it was a little over 2 years ago, February, a few days after my 59th birthday, when I heard those 3 words, "You have cancer." That is one life-changing event. The good news is my urologist that discovered the cancer was able to get me into a very good top university hospital, which happens to be right down the road from here, by the way. I was ever so thankful to him. It's one of those things where most people, they change quite a bit when you hear those words and do different things. Me, I was very scared, of course. I was thinking I was going to die. And after I digested a little bit, I knew I was going to die, just not today. So I soldiered on and met with all the staff at the hospital and started to get the pre-surgery checkouts. Interesting, I've stayed away from hospitals and doctors all my life, and here I was, by myself, getting checked out. I had 2 nurses helping me. One was doing the testing, and the other one was asking questions and writing down answers. The one writing down answers, an attractive young lady, she was asking these questions, and finally she leaned forward and looked at me, and she noticed that I was wearing a motorcycle t-shirt. Well, when I'm not working, I like to be casual, and I usually wear a motorcycle t-shirt, and it's usually one from the Isle of Man. And she looks at me straight in the face, and she goes, "Motorcycles, they're so dangerous." I couldn't resist. I said, "Young lady, maybe you need to look at my medical chart. Now tell me what's dangerous here." She was speechless. She was done. Now the other nurse that had just stuck a needle in my arm, she looked up and she goes, "I ride a motorcycle." Yeah. We both smiled at each other and continued on. That was the beginning of that part of the journey. Luckily, I have some great friends, and it was sort of almost a fight who was going to drive me to the hospital. My buddy Dave from Nevada drove in to do the deed. Surgery, yeah, it was pretty ugly. My tumor was very large, and to add to it, the cancer was going up towards my heart and down towards my liver. So the surgery was intensive. I had 3 separate surgical teams. My surgeon was top-notch. He's one of the best in the country, and he's developed several techniques for dealing with kidney cancer and kidney surgeries. I checked him out on the internet. The guy's phenomenal. He happens to have a great bedside manner as well. Not much of a sense of humor, but that's okay. I worked on that. The support and the care at this particular hospital is just phenomenally great. I can't say enough about how good the experience was. People think I'm crazy because I say, this was a great experience. How can having cancer surgery be a great experience? I don't know. But if I looked aside from the cancer, I met a lot of great people, and they all cared. And they all did the right things to help me. And I was very thankful for that. So I go through the surgery, and I slept through it. 8.5 hours, no big deal. I was asleep. I finally woke up, and I felt like I had just conquered the world. I wanted to jump up and shout. I wanted to scream, "Huzzah, I made it." But I couldn't. I had a tube down my throat. I had lines in both arms, one down, a central line down my neck area, and I had a hose down below, and all kinds of wires, because I was in ICU. I was in ICU for 10 days, by the way, and I'm wired crazy. Everything's hooked up, everything's beeping, buzzing, fluids coming in, fluids going out. Interesting, very interesting. The good news, there was a lot of pain, but the good news, I had this button I could push. You push the button, and a few minutes later, a little bit of heaven. The pain went on for several days. The room I was in was really phenomenal. It was a great room. It had this big, giant picture window overlooking these beautiful gardens. And every day people would come and they'd eat their lunch or just take a rest break and admire the beautiful scenery around the hospital entrance. It was great. So day one, you know, I'm not feeling great, but I'm just happy to be alive. And then I get this feeling in the afternoon. And I ring for the nurse, and I go, I need to go. And she looks at me, she says, okay, wait a minute. And she comes back with every hospital patient's favorite device, the bedpan. Okay, I don't know how this is gonna work. She stuffs it underneath me, and I squeal in a little bit of pain because it hurts to move. And I try to ask her to leave the room. I said, you don't need to hear this, and you certainly don't need the aroma that's gonna happen any minute here. And she looked at me, she shook her head no, and she goes, let her rip. Okay. Well, the good news is it was only gas, lots of it. And she applauded. Really, it's a body function, what can I say? Okay, gone with the bedpan. I'm moving on, you know, time's flying by. My buddy had come in to visit me. I had friends that came to visit me. My boss came to visit me. That was kind of interesting. And so I made it through the day. You know, the breathing tube got removed. They said, oh, this is gonna hurt. And then your throat's gonna be sore afterwards. Nothing to it. Didn't feel a thing. Pretty simple. I could talk again. Awesome. Everything's going pretty good. Still wasn't able to eat. All these wires and everything. Day 2, midday. Then it was, okay, I was sure I had to go. I push the button, the nurse comes in and I say, it's time, I gotta go, and I'm not using a bedpan, get me up. And she looks at me, shakes her head, and says, okay, hold on. She comes back in with 4 other people, 2 big, strong guys, and 1 nurse pushing this little portable commode. Okay, that's a good compromise. Well, after such a major surgery, you don't really know if you can stand. Your legs feel rubbery, not to mention the fact they're blown up the size of big, giant balloons. These 2 guys helped lift me up. I could stand. Awesome. And I start to shuffle, and they go, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, wires, tubes, all of the above. And they start shuffling everything over. Okay, I'm walking over to this little portable commode. Hospital gown. Don't you love them? Well, they got the wires going through the gown. So the one nurse picks it on up kind of over my shoulders, and I, you know, kind of shuffle down and sit down on this little commode, and, you know, success. And they applaud. And they look at what was in this commode when I was done, and they're trying to figure out how big it is. It's the size of 2 bricks. I mean, you know, it's huge. And I stand up, and it's kind of embarrassing. A nurse has to wipe your backside because you can't do anything with all these tubes and everything in your arms. And the gown comes down, and I shuffle over to the bed, and I sit down, and I start to laugh. Now, I thought these people thought I was crazy. And they go, what's so funny? I said, you have to laugh when you just mooned 100 people having their lunch. I had to tell that story because I love it. Anyways, needless to say, on the 10th day, my kidney, which was not happy with the procedure they did, decided to wake up, and my numbers are coming into proper alignment. I got moved to a regular room. Everything was going good. Day 12, I got to go home. Yay! There's no place like home, I gotta tell you. I really am thankful for my surgical team. My surgeon came and visited me every day, and everything went really good. I also gotta tell you that there was one doctor, I finally found out who it was, and she was warming up a dialysis machine for me. Luckily, she didn't get to use it. So I got home. I was really pleased to be home. My buddy Dave that drove me there, once he got me home, I kicked him out the door so he can go home to his bride. I mean, We were told it was only going to be about 4 days, and here it was almost 2 weeks. So I kicked him out the door, and he went home. The next day, my buddy Peter from Germany showed up, and he took care of me for the next week and a half. Peter's my buddy from Germany. He's great. He made me walk everywhere. He was determined that he was going to help me, and he did. We did a lot of things together, and it was a lot of fun. The journey since then has been really interesting, at least to me. I live each day to the fullest. You get this new perspective when you face the devil and you kick his butt. You have this feeling of power, and you move on. And I look at people differently. You know, people in this room, they're not just blank faces. They're real human beings. People that I never paid much attention to in the past, I listen very carefully to now. Everything matters. You all matter, and I matter. I've taken a new turn of events. Like everybody else, I read up on my cancer. I tried to learn about it. I learned about treatments. I learned about what could happen next. I knew I was one of those high-risk patients for recurrence. Had to be. You know, I was late stage 3 at time of surgery. I had 9 months of clean scans. And then, yeah, the metastasis showed up. I had mets in both lungs, one on my diaphragm, and a couple in my empty kidney bed. Time for treatment. Oral chemotherapy was online for me. I kept reading about it, and I knew about it, and I knew that for kidney cancer, there's a whole bunch of drugs you can take. Some are better than others in terms of side effects. Didn't matter. I was still fighting. The first drug I took was awesome in terms of fighting the cancer. The side effects were pretty harsh, but it didn't matter as long as it was working. The problem with that particular drug is it's not very liver friendly. And I already have a compromised liver that's an inherited condition that's normally no problem, but it is in cancer patients. And yes, my liver enzymes got out of whack, and I had to take a vacation from the drug, and then we went to a lower dose, and my liver numbers went crazy, and the doctor said, time to quit. But in the meantime, it had shrunk all the tumors at least 50%, and the tumors in the old kidney bed weren't visible in the scans anymore. That drug gave me more time. I was pretty happy overall. Can't complain. On to drug 2. Drug 2, well, it had worse side effects, but it didn't matter as long as it would work. That's my thinking, and I'm sticking to it. However, the fatigue and the diarrhea were so bad, I could no longer work. So in February of this year, it was time. I had to stop working. And 35 years with the same company, a wonderful company, by the way, but it was time. I stopped working. That allowed me to sleep more during the week and have a little extra energy for the few hours that I could go. And then there's my other little time consumer is my love of old motorcycles. I'm called Gold Star Ron. My old motorcycles are BSA Gold Stars. Probably nobody in the room has ever heard of them, but they're my passion, they're my hobby. I would ride my street bike whenever I could, and I've got a racer that I built up a number of years ago, and it's had a very successful racing career. It's got a lot of wins in the US at tracks like Willow Springs, Sears Point. We've done top 4 finishes, second place at Daytona a couple times. Done really well in the States. But that bike was built for the Isle of Man. Bike's been 3 times to the Isle of Man. It got 3 DNFs, do not finishes. The bike is waiting for me on the Isle of Man right now. In 2 weeks, things go well, that's where I'll be, and we're going to race it. One of the things I've been doing in the meantime also, when I mentioned I've been studying up on my cancer, I've also been studying up on all cancers. And I decided that my new career, now that I'm not working, was to try and help others, especially the newbies, because I know what it's like to be a newbie. I was one. You're scared, you're afraid you're gonna die, and you don't know which way to turn. And quite often, especially with some of the rarer cancers, they're in the hands of the wrong doctor. They need to see a specialist that knows their kind of cancer. And it's very rewarding when you get someone to the right doctor and their potential results have greatly improved. And through Smart Patients, I can do that, and I can help people. And there's other people here that are within the group that do the same thing. And we all help each other at the same time. It's very rewarding to help someone else. I've always been that way, and that'll never change. Additionally, I've joined a group called AACR, which is the American Association for Cancer Research. And I went to their big conference down in San Diego in April. They estimated there was about 25,000 people in attendance, a huge crowd. Every one of those people trying to find a resolve for cancer. Anybody who thinks that there's not a lot of people trying to work for a solution needs to attend one of those conferences. It was totally amazing. It was way overwhelming. They would have between 5 and 10 sessions going on simultaneously in different rooms. Some are simulcast in other rooms as well. You've got the top researchers and doctors from around the world all telling their tale of their area of research. It was phenomenal, totally phenomenal, and for anybody that has an interest in cancer research, should attend one of those types of conferences. They're very, very good. Next week, I'll be attending a local kidney cancer conference here nearby, and I know I'm going to get the same type of reaction with the people I meet and see there. And the good news is, my oncologist will be one of the key speakers. I feel real proud of that. One thing, my philosophy on life is I'm trying to move forward, I'm trying to be positive, and even before I had cancer, I used to say my cup isn't half empty, it isn't half full, it's overflowing. Well, guess what? It's still overflowing. It hasn't changed one bit. I do have this tether around my body called cancer. I have to get regular scans, I get regular blood work, I get infusions, and next week I'm supposed to get a treatment called CyberKnife. Does not involve a knife. It's a very specialized radiation treatment because I got metastasis in my spine right now, and they think they can take care of them. And as soon as that's done, I'm jumping on an airplane. Life is pretty darn good, isn't it? Thank you.